But Jesse, why will you not speak on your homosexual behaviors?
There's no doubt that there's current victims.
I think for sure.
This is
Jesse
like
was
the most
embroiled in a
cursed
homosexual scandal
documentary
in October 2020.
I've ever seen.
After his
So I wonder what's going on with Jesse Lee Peterson, chat. What do you think? Oh no! Oh no! Are you ready, chat?
And then he also asked me, "What do you do?" I said, "I have my own auto detailing business." And at the time, it wasn't named Samuel Mexican Car Wash Boy. It was named SCLA Auto Detailing. So the reason I changed it to Samuel Mexican Car Wash Boy, a quick detour of the story, is because he started calling me that, because that's what he saved me on his number as. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just run with it. I mean, people know me as Samuel Mexican Car Wash Boy. It's me. It's my face. I'm the brand. Cool. I'll run with it.
Wait.
So then,
is it like that he interacted with Jesse on the show as that, and that's why he?
Anyways,
that's why it was the brand.
Detour. Anyways, at the end of the service, he promised me, hey, you could detail my truck. And I say, cool,
oh my
man. Like,
God, no.
Man, I'm gonna get to work on Jesse's truck.
No.
This is nuts right now.
No.
So
yeah, change the title.
Numbers.
Oh my God.
This is in private. Like,
oh my God.
I don't know if I assume you guys haven't been to the Bond Church, but it was in Orlando, where after everybody just talks to Jesse, talks amongst one another, you know, the breakdown of the service. And I go
detailing his truck. That's great. That's great.
Another thing
that's just great.
I was abused.
Oh my God.
Boy, and that's really like, I don't know if I could let that go. And he's like, forgive and let go. Just let it go. All thoughts are lies. Past doesn't exist. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. So then I was like, okay, cool.
So like, I mean, some of these allegations are from men that were clearly of age and just didn't really understand their own sexuality at the time when Jesse came onto them. And there's probably a power differential thing there.
I would not pay much attention to the thoughts telling me about that stuff, you know? So I was growing. This was in May 2020.
So
and I met
if this is what I think it is, infamous anti-gay religious leader Jesse Lee Peterson exposed as homosexual predator and groomer of men in a new viral documentary called Amazing Disgrace. Okay, by Church Militant. Also, so Jesse Lee Peter, red name, Shinigami Eyes, marks you red. Church Militant, also marked red.
Tony and Anthony at the 21 convention in October 2020, because that's when Jesse out of nowhere, and mind you, like, to me, I consider myself still like a newbie, you know, like not even a year of knowing Jesse.
What the fuck is up with that?
He invites me,
thumbnail. That
all
is
expenses paid to.
That's an ugly thumbnail.
Convention. I didn't even know who they were, honestly, but I went because I was like, man, I get to represent.
There's somebody
Jesse,
saying
like,
Jesse Lee Peterson is innocent.
Jesse's bodyguard and just like a ambassador for Bond, because I was like, man, I've been helped so much. And up to this point, no weird stuff. And also, no weird stuff happening at the 21 convention. I shared a room with Jesse. It was just Jesse and I in one room, and then Nick Gonzalez.
So what is can you maybe figure out what the 21 convention is?
Is in the other room, right next door.
I think that's this channel.
You can
or something.
Confirm that, Tony, because
21 Studios.
I don't know. I remember well. Yeah, absolutely.
You escorted us, and I walked out of the room with Jesse. So and no weird stuff happened that trip at all. If anything, it got me closer to Jesse because we had like late night talks, like about life and about my insecurities, things that, was like real deep to me. And he would tell me about, about how to overcome that. And I was like, cool, man. So I left that trip feeling like on cloud 9. So, fast forward to March, early March or late February. I would have to confirm that on my schedule, because the way I keep track of the dates is not because I wrote them down and all. And here's the thing to all the people that want proof. Jesse, you gonna do this to me? Let me record real quick. Let's do it. Like, that's weird. I wasn't even thinking that to expose him would be to expose myself. Like, and I wasn't ready for that. But anyways, late March, early February, whatever. I had just cleaned the bond office because I got hired in December of 2020. I got
That
somewhere around
documentary
that
is
time,
by
I got hired
Milo's
to work at the
organization.
bond office
Wait.
every single Friday. So,
so that's 21 Studio is Milo's thing?
up to this point, Jesse and I are close. We're already, long hugs. Him telling me he loves me like a son. He would call me every night, not every night, but every other night, check in. How was work? How was your business? How are you dealing with life? Oh, good, Jesse. Thank you. Thanks for checking in. But it wasn't until that day I went over to his room, and it was a Friday night, and I remember, and this is also because someone asked the question of how can you say he pulled down your pants, like, and to that defense, you made me thanks to whoever left that comment, because you made me remember. At this point, I was already working out like consistently because I was like, motivated. I was like feeling on top of the world. I was working out consistently, trying to make myself stronger. So was Jesse. So I would take off my shirt and he would look at my body like, oh man, like, and I would do it because, oh, Jesse, let me show you the work I've been doing. Look, check this out. I'm not proud of that. I probably shouldn't have done that, but hey, man, whatever. And then at one point I would tell him, oh, I'm working on squats. And then he's like, oh, let me see your legs. So at first it started with like pulling up,
Oh my God.
my pants, like from the boot up to the leg. But then it became, oh, take off your pants. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just pose right here. And by the way, the whole time the door is locked, so no one saw this stuff. So that's what led to the moment where it first happened. I believe I had taken off my pants, and then it was just me sitting in like my boxers, and then him kneeling in front of me because I was about to, and he would do this pretty often where I would want to pull up my pants, but he would be like, no, don't do that. I'm like, what do you mean, Jesse? Like, stop, man. I'm trying to pull up my pants. He's like, no, come on. Like, and he would just do his little laugh, like, and then, but then that's when he did it, right? And then I went into the silent prayer.
Yeah, and so that's what we watched earlier, and I think there's a little bit too much description.
What's so shameful about it is that,
wait, who the fuck is Woody Johnson? What? This is so weird. Like, they're trying to, this person's just trying to describe the abuse that he experienced, and there's like just like a Discord name. Is it Discord? No, I don't think this is Discord. This is something else, but there's like, that's weird. It's probably just somebody's username.
Even after that first happened, and I'll answer your question, Tony. But I just want to say one more thing. Even before, like when it first happened, I went home and I was like, that's it, man. Like all your insecurities of you being a homosexual, they're true now. Like this is what you were avoiding, and now it's true. So that was so hard to deal with because I never wanted to be that, but somehow I allowed it to happen, and that was so hard to admit to myself. So the next day, I had a job and I was there the whole day, right? And the whole time I'm thinking about it, like, oh my God, this happened. How can you let this happen, man? Like, what's wrong with you? All of those thoughts inside of my mind. And I called Jesse in the afternoon after my job, and he's like, just let it go. Our thoughts are lies. And I said, Jesse, I'm dealing with now, I'm questioning if I'm homosexual or not. And he's like, he laughs and he's like, that's what Satan told me too. And I'm like, damn, this guy, he's like, instead of helping out, he's like making me feel worse about it. So then and then after that, he's like, just let it go. All thoughts are lies. His whole spiel, all thoughts are lies all the time. The last time that I saw him face to face, he came to my house unannounced after a Friday show or something, I think. And my mom woke me because I still live with my mom. Yeah, that's beta.
Oh no.
But I live in the back. All right. I live in the back. I pay rent. I pay bills. I work all the time. I'm not,
It's got to justify his existence.
Whatever. Anyways, my mom wakes me up. She's like, Samuel, there's a black man outside for you. I'm like, what? I look at my phone and I noticed that it was Jesse calling me and he left texts. Or I think he just called and left voicemails. And then I'm like, oh, I knew exactly who it was. So I went out there. And in hindsight, I wish I would have reported his ass. Because it would have been like, he's on my property, you know, public property. So it would have been like proof for all the proofers. But anyways, he's like, he wanted to, I opened my gate. He wanted to walk into my gate. And I'm like, nah, you're not coming in anywhere close to me anymore. What do you want? He's like, oh, I just wanted to tell you something. Here, come here, come into my truck. So I went in his truck.
Oh, no.
And I was kind of scared because Jesse, he carries a weapon in his car. It's not a firearm, but it is a weapon that could cause a lot of damage. So as any like famous man should, you know, or anybody that's in a public image, they should have something to protect themselves, or any man, honestly.
What about women?
So I was scared. I was like, damn, is he about to freaking like off me right now? Cause of, you know, he's scared. Cause that was very irrational for him to come to my house unannounced.
I mean, it's a legitimate question to ask.
Before, yeah, he had. So he
I wouldn't trust him. Yeah, absolutely.
My sister's room, and he just came and he's like, "Oh, I want to see your work. Like, let me see your work." And I took pride in my work. I take pride in everything I do, like as far as jobs go. In the cars that I wash, everything. So I wanted to show him, and so he came, and then he sat in my couch, talked for a little bit. He was like, you know, we had a little conversation then and there. No weird stuff happened, but anyways, back to when the last time I saw him, he's telling me all this spiel of like, look, Samuel, I know you're like dealing with this and you don't know what to do, but I just want to warn you not to tell anybody your business. Anything you've been through, don't tell anybody, because they're just going to turn on you like they turn on everybody. Like, if you notice, anybody that shares all their vices, all that happens to them is that they get turned on, you know? So I'm like, look, Jesse, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to tell people, but all I know is I'm done. I'm done with Bond. I'm done with you. I want nothing to do with you ever again. Don't ever come to my house ever again. And I also told him, look, Jesse, I remember the day that you, the day after it first happened, I called you like scared and like confused. And you told me that Satan told you that I was gay. And after that day, I would just question myself, always question myself. I never, ever questioned Jesse, which is another shameful thing. And it goes to the cult personality, like the cult psychology, that you don't question the person that is causing damage to you. You question yourself. And Jesse says, don't put me on a pedestal, but he sets it up to where you do put him on a pedestal. So anyways, what I told him is like, look, I never questioned you, but what I should have asked you, I should have asked you if you're gay. And he's like, no. Before I even said it, he said, no. And then I knew then this guy is gay. Like he is actually gay, but because when you ask somebody a question and they're guilty, it's not all the time, but if they have the answer immediately before you finish what you say, that's like a guilty conscience to me.
How else did he explain that to you?
What happened?
How did he explain that to you when you asked him that question?
That he's not, are you gay? He just said, no. And he said, what happened between you and I, it was a mistake. Like I fell into it. Like it was just a mistake. It was a mistake. It wasn't like because he's a homosexual, it's because it was a mistake for him. So then I'm like, all right, Jesse, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I wasn't having it anymore. I was like, whatever, man. So I was like, that's it, Jesse. No more. Don't ever show up to my house again. Don't ever call me. You and I were nothing anymore. Don't ever call me your son. Don't ever tell me you love me like a son, because I understand now you do not love me. If you love me, you would have never done this stuff. And anyways, to answer your question, why am I doing this? Because I gotta warn people. I gotta warn other young men and women too of Jesse. Like he's a very, very seductive man. He's clever like a fox. He is he's very influential. And he is a liar, man, straight
I don't
up.
know what to say.
It was hard for me to admit that, you know, or like to see that, to face that reality for a long time. But yeah, ultimately it's because he's using the name of Jesus Christ, the religion of Jesus Christ, and God in like a very evil way. And so to offer a little clarity as to what led me to do it, that's my why. But what led me to like come out and go on this documentary is because when Patrick Rooney released the articles in November of 2021, I believe. Yeah, just last year, November 2021. Yeah. That like shook my whole world. I was like, oh my God, now what I went through is not like a fluke. It's not a one-time thing. And I saw what Jesse had, like he wanted for me, you know. And just to set the record straight, I never had sex with Jesse. Never was. I never did anything to him. I never saw him naked. I never did anything to him, ever. It was always him coming on to me, and I just was like helpless about it. Like, because from the first time it happened, I decided to go back after like a few moments, a few days of thinking about it, mulling it over in my mind. I ultimately decided to go back, and hey, that's on me. That's my fault. I'll take full responsibility for it. But he told me I'll never do it again, and he did it again. But by this second time he did it, it was like, oh, again, and I let it happen again.
Okay, so this is the 21 Studios. This is they made a documentary.
Peterson and Masters promoted a similar system of meditation and theology, a system that includes rejecting the Holy Trinity and our blessed Lord's divinity.
Yeah, going around trying to tell people that they can't talk about their problems. Yeah, don't talk about, like, yeah, basically trying to gaslight. Yeah, just trying to keep his victim from talking. Wait, was that real?
Thanks to the feckless and spiritually absent bishops, Jesse's theological errors didn't...
The feckless and spiritually absent what? Why does this have to do with the bishops?
...keep him from gaining tens of thousands of Catholic and patriotic followers. Jesse's draw for conservatives was his commentary
against... So this is definitely a right-wing channel.
The Marxist group
like very
Black Lives Matter.
Right-wing channel.
Black Lives Matter, radical, so-called
I'm gonna get more cherries.
Warriors. They were chanting, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it? Now. Pigs in the blanket. Fry them like bacon. And people went out and started killing cops and everything.
Back up! Exploiting many angry American men's desires for a stable family life, Jesse would directly call out feminists for their role in destroying the family as well.
Sexism is a made-up lie, and it's been made up by women who hate men, who hate the family, who hate the unborn child.
The 73-year-old even visited the Church Militant studio in March, when senior executive producer Michael Voris answered his questions about Catholicism.
Did Jesus just rise from the dead in spirit, or did his body come out also?
He was, maybe his body came out, I don't know, but I know.
Well, that's a big deal.
He rose in the spirit. That's what.
No, he rose in the body.
Why I want to make that.
But he rose in the body. You can't say he didn't walk out of the tomb on Sunday.
And for what we knew at the time, Jesse was an ardent opponent of homosexuality in and outside the church, and presented himself as such.
The spirit of homosexuality is of their father, the devil. It's not them, the person. It's the spirit that made a home in them. And it came from them overreacting to some sort of a situation in life, whether it's from someone messing with them when they were kids, or overreacting to an angry mother, because you become like what you hate.
But shortly after the March interview, friends of his came to us with a different story. These stories first came
You've seen this already, Nina?
to light when Jesse's former co-host and alleged decade-long gay
trying to
lover
silence.
exposed him. 61-year-old Patrick Rooney has known Jesse
Oh my God, 6
for
hours?
nearly 30 years, dating back to roughly 1992.
Everybody know Patrick Rooney, one of the smartest white men on this side of heaven.
The two were so close that Jesse was the minister at his wedding and the pastor at his baptism, long before Rooney claimed any homosexual activities began.
Right around that time, I also had started a TV show. I was doing a public access TV show in LA. And from that time forward, right after the show happened, Jesse and I talked in the green room, backstage. And right off the bat, he started asking me stuff. Jesse's very forward with his questioning and things like that. So he actually asked me right after that show, are you gay?
Rooney's characterization shows that Jesse allegedly used similar
But he probably said, are you a homosexual?
grooming tactics as other homo predators, like Saginaw priest Father Robert DeLand, who asked similar questions when preying on a young man in 2017.
To discover that you have some gay tendencies is a fine thing, because then you don't have to be so confused. Right. Do you feel less confused? Do you? Yeah.
After Jesse discovered Rooney's same-sex attraction, his relationship with Jesse was taken to the next level. Bit by bit, Jesse began edging him closer and closer to sin.
Once he moved up there to do the show, we stayed in the same house. Jesse would kind of do some things, kind of horseplay.
There is definitely a way in which Jesse's like taking advantage of these people and manipulating them, but they're kind of trying to use him as a scapegoat for their gay feelings too. Like I'm noticing, right? They're still in that mindset of like repressing. And so they want to find a way to say to themselves, I don't know, like it's hard to know, but like from what I remember, like from what I've seen so far, like there is some stuff that's like, more than just somebody trying to blame their feelings, and also like Jesse has a lot of power, like being this big like giant ministry. He like, literally runs a ministry, right? And I thought, did somebody tell me Jesse also did like therapy? I think Jesse conducts therapy on people. So yeah, there's some issues here, like
stuff like that with me. And at times he would do stuff where he would like grab me and then we'd kind of wrestle around a little bit, and I'd feel his.
I just cringe when they say like homo predator, because that's like so like it's distinguishing it from any predator, you know what I mean? Like a predators are bad. And the idea being that like, I don't know, that they're associating gay men with this kind of sexual violation.
Joke about it.
Fast forward to 2005, and Jesse was ready to make his final move.
We did a conference with them called Moral Reconstruction, which is kind of ironic now that we're sitting here.
If they had sex at this part, then this narrator is like really a little too into it, right? Jesse decided to make his final move. That's right. You know what I mean? It's like he's like
talking about something else. It's called Moral Reconstruction. We did that. That first conference was, I believe, in 2005, and we did a follow-up conference in 2006 with them as well. And I went with Jesse to Washington, D.C. For this conference. I was a fundraiser at the time, and so we did fundraising, and I was part of the conference. While we were at the conference, we stayed in Virginia, near D.C. So we were sitting on the bed together, and all of a sudden he turned to me, just looked at me, and he said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And he said it in a tone that was really insistent, and I'd never seen this tone from him before. It was like kind of scary. It kind of scared me. Like what? What do you want to do? I knew what he meant, and then I told him, okay. And at first I'm scared, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing along here. It kind of threw me off my game, I guess, in a way. I think later I realized that's kind of something that people do sometimes. It's like the devil works in a certain way by intimidating you, and it throws you off your normal game. And so he said, "What do you want to do?" And he's like, "Okay, I'm scared." And then I told him what I want to do. I mentioned.
I mean, this does get a lot worse. This does get a lot worse. He knew about that. I had already talked to him about that. I was interested in. And the next thing you know, he's ripping his clothes off and coming at me, basically. And I did the same, took my clothes off. And next thing you know, we're fully at it, having, not getting detail here, but
basically full on.
Hey, listen, my Twitch channel appreciates you not getting into detail. Can you imagine, like, if this Christian channel was like just like basically? I mean, to be fair, there's got to be a fair amount of repressed gay men watching this right now, and you know, it's probably a compelling narrative, right? It's like, oh my gosh, so there is like some of that. What's the weird thing about the church, right? The conservative church is there's gay people in the church, and some of them are just like, you know, silent and closeted and, you know, right, discreet, and some of them are, you know, like could be the church leadership, and in that situation, like they can be the people that are calling for gays to lose rights, right, really easily. I don't want to get it in. Sometimes that correlation is over emphasized, and I'm not trying to do that, but what I'm trying to get at is the fact that queer people exist on the, you know, anti-queer side too, right? And it's God, it's gonna be hard to get out of that.
Almost identically.
I love you. Love you too. I know. What are we gonna do?
What's weird is, like, did somebody say this is Milo's? This is Milo's, like, news? Like, what is this, the deal? That if you catch, like, like, somebody doing, like, oh my god. Is this how Milo redeems himself?
No, what are we gonna do?
What is going on here? I do not.
Rooney's
This story is
description shows
weird.
that after their sexual
This is
encounter,
a weird
Jesse
story.
began intertwining his private homosexualism with blasphemy.
And the worst part is that we don't really have anybody that's gone over it, except for, like, you said Dusty, Vosh, probably Xander Hall. I bet you know that Xander Hall's done this story. You know that Xander Hall's done this story now, but we don't have any, like, real authoritative news source. This is that 21 Productions or whatever the hell.
He had just done the first sexual act.
Oh yeah,
and then
God.
Ever since then, he told me that once we did this, I was born again. This sounds
so
crazy.
He's mixing, like, religious language with, like, almost like to sanctify his, you know, taking advantage of this guy.
But this is the absolute truth. He said that I was born again. He would remind me of that through the years.
Following being born
That's
again,
horrible.
Rooney contends
So somehow
that his
he's the
sodomitic
conduit
relationship
of.
with Peterson went on for
Okay,
roughly
sodomitic. Really? Is that a word?
10 years, until Rooney decided to come clean to his wife and son.
My son was really angry. My son was mostly angry at me because he had Jesse on such a pedestal. My son had Jesse on such a pedestal, he literally thought Jesse could walk on water. We got on a phone call, we talked to Jesse, and as soon as we brought it up with my son on the phone call, Jesse denied it. And I said, Jesse,
I've had friends whose their social life was directed by their church. Yeah.
Liar. You're lying. You know this. You know you're lying. And he finally came out and admitted to my son that he did that.
Rooney later moved to Florida to get away from Jesse. But according to Rooney, Jesse couldn't handle the relationship.
Wait, is he a stand-up?
Offering him several bribes to get him back to LA.
Or was that a church thing?
It's typical for homo predators to try and cover their tracks using a cornucopia of strategies to shut people up.
Wait, that's like a thing abusers do. You don't, like, stop, like, acting like, oh my god, stop acting like homo predators are a thing, okay? There's abusers, that's what we're talking about.
In the case of Father DeLand, it was now deceased Saginaw Bishop Joseph Sistone, who remained silent on DeLand's abuse for
like
years.
A church thing?
While serving as an auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia in 1994,
an auxiliary bishop?
Sistone
Okay, I don't
allegedly
understand
watched
the
as
church.
documents
Auxiliary?
containing names of up to 64 suspected sex abusers were shredded, earning him the nickname Bishop Shredder among the U.S. bishops. According to Rooney, for Jesse and those loyal to him, the strategy was to bully and silence all victims and witnesses speaking up.
Jesse did throw me under the bus, basically, and other people that did anything like that, and still does. If anybody comes up with it, they'll keep anybody off the air.
You're talking about other victims?
Well, yeah, other victims. And he'll make sure that if anybody talks about these things, calls up his show, or does anything like that, they were not going to get through on his show.
Yeah, I don't even know how easy it was. Right, so and the other ironic thing is that, like, Milo's into this, like, radical Catholic traditionalist thing, And like, I'm pretty sure that's like the locus of, like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like, is this like one church trying to say, hey, look at those other churches. They got some weird like homo predators.
Jesse to discredit victims.
Not us though, not
given
us.
Bond's history of seeking out troubled young men.
I don't know. This is so weird.
Jesse brings around him are
like, they're all pretty creepy. All these churches
have drug problems, right? Some of them been in jail. So it's pretty easy to discredit a guy who's been on drugs, maybe in jail or something like that. It's pretty rotten thing to do.
Beginning last November, Rooney began writing a collection of blog posts hinting at Jesse's predation, leading him to a shocking discovery.
After I published these articles, I found out from a young man, a very credible young man, that Jesse was fooling around with this young man.
That young man was 30-year-old Samuel Arambula, a more recent member of Bond and Jesse's latest known purported victim.
I started going to Bond around
so
May
2020.
This was during the coronavirus lockdowns, everything. As soon as they opened back, they were doing live broadcasted.
Yeah.
No in-person church for like 2
So that's
months
this video.
or 2 weeks or something like that. But as soon as it opened up, I went. That was May 2020. Jesse, what he likes to do in the church is he goes around first-timers. He goes around first-timers and says, introduce yourself, what's your name, you know, how'd you find us?
What's the Windows 98 computer?
The first thing I said, my name is Samuel, and I'm here because, you know, you helped me a lot. I went and forgave my mom, I went and forgave my dad, I had a lot of anger, and I just dropped that, and I feel way better now. I'm really, you know, growing, and I want to thank you for it.
Among him are 3 other alleged witnesses and victims who also chose to tell their stories. Samuel began his relationship with Jesse professionally, washing cars for him and doing other cleaning work at what they call the Bond House. The Bond House is where Jesse and several of his male staff currently live.
The Bond
and
House?
When Samuel began opening up to Jesse about his past, things got personal.
I was molested as a boy, so I was like, Jesse, what do I do? Like, this is weighing heavy on me. What should I do? He said, forgive him, it's in the past. Our relationship progressed slowly, closer and closer. I didn't suspect anything weird of it. There were certain times where he began hugging me where I was like, whoa, I've never been hugged by a man. Like, what was this? But I was like, this is, I get, he would just tell me like, you know, I just love you. So I'm like, okay, I get,
yeah,
you know, I love you too.
But, much like with Patrick Rooney, Samuel
That's
states
the Bond
things went
House,
from casually
huh?
close to mortally sinful.
Bond Villain House,
So Friday
maybe.
afternoon,
Perhaps.
Evening, I go to Jesse's
What's up,
house,
Lovitz?
and I am sitting in his couch, relaxing. You know, I'm kind of avoiding the LA traffic at the peak hour. So it's a good deal, and I get to stay somewhere with someone that I respect, friend. So then, by this point, we're already real comfortable with like hugging and all that stuff. You know, just hugging for long periods of time. I thought nothing weird of it. I guess my guard had already been let down completely. So I'm sitting on this couch. He kneels down in front of me, and then he wraps himself around, his arms around my waist. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm like, Jesse, why are you doing that? He's like, I just love you so much. And I'm like, okay, I guess. I was just like this. So then he starts rubbing my thighs.
Okay, that's a little
like,
too. Okay, so
right
100%. Like, that's okay. So the thing about this, like, this kind of secret queer world within churches like this, right, is that people have needs, and even if people are repressing like a motherfucker, they are like taking care of those needs in some way. I swear to God, like, they left more details in than they really needed to, and they left them in because somebody likes those details, right? God, like, this is scary to think of how dark, you know, things get when people are repressed like that. Would they make me a Bond girl? Maybe, I don't know.
From there, Jesse instructed Samuel to go into his so-called meditation called the silent prayer.
And he's like, doubt all thoughts are lies. Everything Satan is telling you is a lie. And I'm like, okay,
like,
but
yeah,
inside it's telling me, hey,
he sucks.
This is not
he
good.
Sucks.
What are you doing?
Satan bad.
What are you allowing him to do?
Samuel describes Jesse abusing the supposed meditative state, trying to convince Samuel to ignore the traumatic sexual experience occurring.
It went on for a few minutes. He would get up, walk away. I could hear him, I couldn't see him. Get up, he would get up, walk away. I could hear him get up, walk away, touch it, get up, walk away, touch it.
Oh my God,
what's going on? So then I opened my eyes.
I don't even know what know what they're talking about.
What just happened?
Another alleged victim was Trayvon Chapman, who in 2015 told his friend, now 43-year-old Armand Martikian, that Jesse molested him.
Okay, the fucking titles though. Victim number 3. All the victims. Oh my God, they did like a different fucking theme and font for. That's so weird. There's like, this doesn't need that much production. Like, in fact, the production is like taking away from the seriousness of it. The music, the fucking titles, like, I don't know. The fact that like you can almost hear it on the dude's voice narrating that he is like, he's happy to be doing this story, like, and it's not just because like, you know, they got some like bone to pick. Oh my God, I shouldn't have said bone to pick. I shouldn't have said bone. Okay, anyway, they've got some like, you know, just, you know, something against Jesse Lee Peterson. They're like glad to see him go, or he was competition, or whatever fucking reason, other reason like that might be there. Like this is church porn. I mean, we're watching church porn.
Came out of his mouth.
We're watching gay church porn.
That Jesse's homosexual. And I say,
this music,
he
though.
He can't be saying this, you know, like, he's all against it. He's a, you know, straight conservative man.
Lucifer is kind of cute,
though. This is like, what you're saying is bizarre, you know, doesn't
The guy
make
that
sense.
he used to work with was a hypnotist.
But at the same time, it kind of struck me as a truth. What this guy was saying,
trooper?
He was explaining the incidents, like certain acts that they would do. They had some nicknames. Jesse had nicknames for it, you know. Say, instead of telling what the act is, he named it oral massage, according to Trayvon.
Armand tried to tell Jesse what Trayvon said, and he just dismissed it.
I went to Jesse. I said, Jesse, I bumped into Trayvon, and he was talking bad things about you. The moment I said that, his first response was, oh, he's on drugs. When he said he's on drugs, shivers went down my spine, like, uh-oh, aren't you gonna ask what he said about me?
Trayvon has since disappeared. None of the men have any idea of his current whereabouts, though they assume he's still somewhere in LA. After this encounter, Armand began questioning his own relationship with Jesse.
And then I had a flashback back in the day that it never stayed in my memory, but
so for anyone just joining us, it turns out that there's 4 victims that have come forward and said that they were abused by Jesse Lee Peterson. I think the youngest of the victims was 17 at the time, or at least there's a 17-year-old that like is like. Anyway, this is, I mean, it seems pretty credible. The only thing that's weird about it is, guess who's got the exclusive story? This 21 Productions, which I'm told is this like associated with Milo. So it's this like militant, like Christian, the channel's called Militant Christian, right? It's like they're super ultra right Christo-fascists, right? So that is who we're watching, like, give us the tea on Jesse Lee Peterson. It seems like it's real, but also, like, I don't know, like, especially if these people are associated with Milo, like, you know, there seems to be like a nexus of like repression or something.
The flashback had when I was in a private counseling.
Oral massage?
He kind of gestured me, let me see down there. Pointing
the pterygon muscle, yes.
Referring to my, you know, down there as in my private.
Oh my God.
Not knowing what was about, I'm at very late teens at that moment, you know, like kind of got tricked into it, pulled my pants forward where he kind of looked at it.
Okay, no, that's a little bit too much.
Maybe he's trying to see if I'm shy, he's trying to help.
What?
Later, I looked back, thought that the fact that I said if somebody sees us, they're going to think we're gay, he kind of probably thought that, okay, he's too aware, I'm not going to advance any longer.
Former Bond House manager, 50-year-old Robert Santner, alleges he witnessed similarly strange behavior in 2021 between Jesse and current Bond producer James Hake.
What I witnessed.
So is that where his like production house
hugging each other intensely, rubbing each other's shoulder down stuff, and he came to a point where I actually saw him kissing him on the cheek. Kissing him on the cheek and stuff, on the hallway, and talking all kinds. I can't remember what the words he said, but there were a lot of giggling in the hallway, in his James room, and then there was even one time that just really shocked the living hell out of me, is I went to the laundry room and stuff. I mean, after I took the laundry out, and then when I got out, and there was a
what is up with this music? This music is too weirdly ambulantly. Look, this music is like a fucking. It's like the fucking libido of a ultra Christian repressor. Okay, I gotta say it. Like, this music is correspondent to. Oh my God.
Jesse was sitting in the bed, and while James Hake was.
Like the intrigue
wrapped around bed sheets.
Like, why is this like fucking
with his head?
This is like Bond music or something, kind of like.
And Jesse was like,
this music is way hornier than it needs to be. This is really inappropriate.
And then kissing him on the forehead, and I was like, hey, are you all right?
Hake, to this day, is an ardent defender of Jesse and his ministry.
The sickest thing, though, is like, right, is that they can go forward with this stuff, and on one side they can say, hey, we criticize the bad gay man that did the predation because it was only because Jesse Lee Peterson was gay that he was a predator, right? But on the other hand, like, they get to enjoy the fucking tea of it all, and maybe a little bit more. Like, they get this kind of, like, you know what I mean? It's like they can produce a document that to a repressing gay person would be easily read, like invisible ink. You know what I'm saying? It's invisible ink, right? Other Christian repressors can vibe with this, but to the outside world of just like, not like Christians that are super right-wing Christians that aren't like secretly gay, it's probably completely oblique, and they're just like, oh, that's really bad. Oh, I can't believe that Jesse Lee Peterson would do that. Oh, okay, well, yeah, the demon of homosexuality really is super, awful. And I don't know, they're not going to see it. They're not going to see what's right in front of their eyes, that it's not just Jesse Lee Peterson. Like, this is a whole ass thing within the church, within every church, right?
Essentially helping him ostracize all the men accusing Jesse of homo predation. Santner also described an incident where Jesse attempted grooming him.
Some of it is the source of the worst oppression, right? The people that really, betray us and hurt us, right? In order to, like, cover up for their sin. Yeah, this is a thing. This is a thing.
Like, there was one night, okay, I was all by myself. It was like late at night after I came home from work. I was in the kitchen, doing my own thing and stuff. And then suddenly there was Jesse appeared on the doorway, leaning against the doorway with his hand underneath his underpants. And he was like,
oh my God, no, he wasn't. I don't want to know.
He describes himself as one of Jesse's best friends. You may recognize Francis from a video with Jesse arguing with a Univision reporter at a Prop 187 rally in Los Angeles in
These people now. What?
Bond studio. Jesse was confronted by him several times this year and refused to address any of the accusations of him preying on young men at Bond. Here's a video of Francis from March, facing off with him at what appears to be the post office across the street from the Bond studio.
Oh, that's nice. He wants me to tell them how I was sleeping with my brother's wife. That's fine. But Jesse, why will you not speak on your homosexual behaviors?
Francis confronted him again in the back of the building with Armand Martikian in February.
How weird is that going to be? If you don't know who Jesse Lee Peterson is, and you're just out walking and you see a man following another man with a camera saying, tell me about your homosexual activities, what are you going to think?
Jesse Peterson, I've known you for 25 years personally.
Some Unitarian churches aren't so bad. Nice.
Will you at least stand there where you feel safe and talk to me? Stand up on your porch with the door open and shout out to me. Why won't you talk to me? I've known you for 25 years. I've accused you of heinous things, and you will not talk to me. You coward.
Francis admits there were also a few clues that should have revealed Jesse was a homosexual, long before he ever found out.
He wanted to see if I was willing to have a homosexual relationship with him, of course, because that's what he was all about. He was about putting out feelers there and seeing who he could have sex with. And it didn't work with me because I had not been molested as a boy. And so eventually I told him, look, Jesse, I'm just an angry guy and I don't like these long hugs and all this stuff we're doing, you know, at night.
And did he stop?
Where he would come into my bed and just lay with me. You know.
He would come into your bed and just lay with you?
Yes. And at one time even like put his hand underneath my underwear.
No.
Or put his hand.
No.
But, only because when you're under that kind of pressure, you just give the answer that he wants, but you're really like wanting to get the heck out of there. You're like ready to fly out of there like a bat out of hell.
Oh my God.
Jesse appears to have used every dirty trick in the book to silence him, allegedly trying to have Francis arrested for violating an unserved restraining order.
I will go back to Phoenix and chill out with the relatives like I was doing before, and I'll be back on the 25th.
Okay. So, yes, if it was already served, you had already seen this, you would be wanting to know.
Church Militant asked every single victim
Church
and
Militant.
witness if
That's
they
the
thought
channel.
Jesse would continue
Church
sexually
Militant.
preying on men, and they all had the same answer.
This guy's such a weirdo.
I would say yes.
There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt that there's current victims.
I think for sure.
Jesse allegedly accuses these men of harassment, but some members of his own congregation disagree, like former Bond House tenant Fabian Asensio.
Harassing is just an excuse for, trying to shut people down. Bond has been a nonprofit church for all these years. He's lied and collected a lot of money from that church.
So it's a church?
Saying that, he's.
That's what a ministry is then, a church.
There's plenty of
I should know this.
There's no reason for us to make up anything. So for someone to be out there in the alley and talking and trying to wake up the employees and say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you still working for this liar? That's totally within our First Amendment rights.
Jim Valerio, longtime donor and friend of Jesse's, also pushed back at his defenders.
And for those of you people who are still supporting this so-called fraudulent, hypocritical, serial predator homosexual, you are going to pay a price for that. That is a stain on your soul when you meet your creator. Period.
They're watching golf in the background. This video. What is wrong with this?
This isn't even the first incident.
This is
Jesse
like
was
the most
embroiled in a
cursed
homosexual scandal in
documentary
October 2020
I've ever seen.
after his Twitter account liked a gay pornography image. After the tweet was left up for hours, Jesse's account was immediately locked down and set to private. One caller on his daily JLP show broadcast tried asking him about it, and Peterson hung up on him.
Did you lock your Twitter account because you got caught liking a gay OnlyFans post?
Amazing. Do you think I handle my own Twitter stuff?
Oh, somebody else did it? How come you locked the account?
None of your business. What the? Are you a homosexual or something?
No, but it doesn't really matter.
Why are you such a beta male? What, you know all that stuff that's going on is not real, but you're being a girl right now. What making you be a girl right now?
There's nothing wrong with it, Jesse.
There's nothing wrong with you being a girl?
They were in.
Goodbye.
On top of those we spoke to, there were several other anonymous alleged victims Church Militant was made aware of, who refused to speak with us per their devotion to Peterson and his so-called ministry. Jesse continues to deny his own actions to his congregants and his fans, shutting down any victims who stand in his way. For Church Militant Special Assignment, I'm Joseph Enders.
Special Assignment, Church Militant. This is some shit right here.